Thank you. All right, we will call the August 17th, 2021 meeting to order at 11 a.m. Please stand and join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mannery, please call the roll.
Trustee Cicconetti? Here. Trustee Hillier? Present. Trustee Pennock?
Present.
Fiscal Officer Patriarca is present virtually.
Present.
Thank you. That's for a motion to approve the minutes from the August 3rd, 2021 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Summary of the work session, Mr. Mannery.
Mr. Chairman, the trustees met in executive session this morning to discuss contract negotiations with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. The trustees heard from Diana Turk, who discussed a program where the township can lease property that it owns for various energy projects. The trustees heard from a resident on Riverside Drive who wants to make some changes to his driveway and connecting to Vassar. The administrator discussed Family Fun Day coming up on Saturday, August 28th. Trustees discussed the flock camera that has been placed on Fairport Nursery Road. And the trustees discussed electing someone to the OPWC District 7 committee. The fire chief talked about the Grand River Fire Department and our partnership with them. He talked about changes for our EMS squads with University Hospitals now taking over Lake Hospital. He gave an update on recent calls to the department. He also, the service director talked about their most recent OPWC grant award, which we received, and a discussion about financing that. The service director gave an update on the 2 local parks we're working on building. He also discussed the difference for replacing driveway culverts, pipes, stormwater drainage pipes under driveways on county roads and township roads. The zoning inspector discussed what might be involved if we required permits for people putting in a driveway. And the zoning inspector advised the trustees that they will be receiving 2 text amendment cases from the zoning commission. And that was it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any old business from the floor? We just asked that you would come up to the podium, state your name and address.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Painesville Township. Quick question. Tim hasn't been at the county meetings. Basically, we've been discussing the new jail at the county meetings recently, except till today they had something else going on. But anyhow, my question is, Center Park Estate.
The mic is not on for that.
Update on that, the flooding issue there.
We're going to turn that microphone on.
Okay.
Tap it.
It's on, you gotta talk to it.
No, it's not. It's not. There's no tap.
It says it's on, but it is not working, so let's sorry, John.
Sound like it was on.
There we go.
So yeah, so you're looking for an update on Center Park Estate.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Mike, you had something in your reports, didn't you? If I
Yes.
recall correctly.
The Engineer Gills, Lake County Engineer Gills, has prepared an agreement with Environmental Design Group to update a study in a smaller area between Normandy, where you're at, and over by the nursing home. The prosecutor is currently reviewing that agreement. Once he approves it, the county will sign it, and Environmental Design Group can begin their study on what possible solutions we might have there. So the study is imminent, John. I don't know when we'll get it back.
Okay, yeah, 'cause, Tim hasn't been the last couple, Tracy's been there the last couple meetings. And Jim's there today, but couldn't make those meetings. But anyhow, beside the point. Yeah, 'cause it's been, as you know, a lot of flooding over there by me in the last few weeks, so just wanted to know what was going on. I just don't want it to get left behind.
Nope, it absolutely is, front and center.
Yeah,
pushing it
It's only
forward.
been since 2006, that once in a
Right.
100-year rain, so. Okay.
All right.
Like I told Jim Gills, I said, Jim, you're gonna have your Rumen Road Bridge before I get, oh, no, you'll have that. Well, he got his Rumen Road Bridge and I still have the flooding problems.
Right.
I lost. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you. Any,
Chairman, I got a question on that.
sure.
Follow-up. So, Mike, when you said it's between Normandy and the nursing home, does that include the fairgrounds property?
It does not. It starts at the fairgrounds property, I believe.
So it starts, because he's between,
It's- It
he's
sta-
right on the fairgrounds property.
It starts at the ditch behind John's property, going west.
And it doesn't include the fairgrounds property?
The answer, Chuck, is I don't know.
Did you,
I know we scaled down the geographical area quite a bit.
my understanding was that was to be included into the study. That's why I asked the question. Can you follow up on that?
I sure
please,
can.
Claire? I mean, that was Josh gave.
Yeah, I recall, yeah, we eliminated some
Easement,
properties where we had difficulties
obtaining easements.
obtaining easements.
That was
Right.
not one of them. So if you would include that property, please,
And
Oh,
see what.
the fairgrounds property.
Right.
Thank you.
Do we have any other old business from the floor? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Do we have any new business from the floor?
I don't know if I'm new business, but I'm going to make my statement at this time.
Absolutely. If you could
Name and
just
address, please.
name and address,
Okay,
please.
I'm Lauren Kincaid Kolick. I live on the Speedway, formerly known as Stratford Road. I have it from various credible sources, minimum of two, that the Lake County Commissioners have offered the township funds to put more police, sheriff's deputies on our roads. Currently, there are 3 serving at any given time with the gunfire that I hear. And I've been shooting guns since I was 8. I know the difference between gunfire and firecrackers. With that, with the shootings that we're having at nightclubs, et cetera, I want to know, have you moved on getting more deputies on the road?
So, yeah, okay. So any other questions or?
No, I
Okay.
want to know where you are
Sure.
on that.
So, discharge of firearms is permitted in the township. Now, obviously not shooting at people, but target shooting is a thing that is permitted in the township based on Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
Uh,
A bullet can travel 1 mile, depending on where you're shooting.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. When they're shooting over in this area, I'm within 1 mile. I have lasers in my gun because they will stop when they hit something. I don't know that these people do.
So it is a
And I-
very difficult, it's something we cannot regulate. There has been
Okay.
shooting, discharge of firearms at a property near mine. Not really happy about it because, as you know, if it's done
So if I walk my
improperly,
yard and I shoot down into the ground, I'm safe.
Correct.
Okay.
yes.
That being said, I still want to know why we do not have more deputies. 3 to serve the entire township is absolutely inane.
So, and feel free to chime in, but I'll get started with a little bit of the history and where we're at and what we're looking at here.
That's what I want to know.
And feel free to chime in. So currently, the township has a levy that the residents pass that generates about $800,000 a year. With that, the township provides 7 deputies in addition to,
Well, 6 plus one extra shift plus part-time, so it's
6 plus 1, 7.
Right.
We provide 7,
Close to 7.
7 deputies.
6.5.
right.
In addition to what the county commissioners provide to maintain the peace in unincorporated areas. So going back 8 years, 9 years, the township didn't contribute anything towards policing. The commissioners funded all of that. Over time, the number has slowly increased until the levy we passed in 2014. So we have what the county provides. We're funding the 7. As you mentioned, the commissioners did make an offer to match any additional deputies that we provide. So if we pay for 2, they would pay for 2. for a period of 4 years.
That's the part that's being left out. It's a temporary grant that after 4 years, whatever extra they fund, they would like us to agree that whatever they fund for 4 years, that we will cover that cost, right?
So if we pay for 2 and they pay for 2, 4 years down the road, they step back and we would have to fund all 4.
Township taxpayers are on the hook for all 4.
But in the meantime, I think that considering, there was a child hit on a bike on Stratford back in the 80s. We need more policing.
There's
We
no doubt.
just don't have it, and we need it.
Well, and here's the thing, this is even further back. So when I was first elected in 2011, this is when really a lot of this got started. And I think at that time, there's a News Herald article from 2012. What happened was Sheriff Dunlap came to the Township Trustees at that time and said, the commissioners they want you to start paying for some road patrol. They're going to start cutting some funding. They want you to start paying for road patrol. Ideally, we want 10 deputies. At that point, Sheriff Dunlap said, but we could settle right now for, I think it was 5 or whatever the number is, right? So they went to Concord Township, Painesville Township, Perry Township, Leroy Township. Painesville and Concord Townships agreed to put on a levy, about $450,000 each. That levy passed. Within 6 months of those levies passing, the commissioners at that time, back in 2011, 2012, cut almost the exact $900,000 that that the townships agreed to fund for road patrol. Additionally, cut that from the sheriff's budget. So whatever the township stepped up to pay, thought they were going to add on to the pot, the commissioners then quick cut that out again from those commissioners back then from the sheriff's
Yeah,
budget.
most nonprofits do the same thing.
So it really put them, the sheriff and the townships, in a bad spot because we all thought we were adding to what was there. And in turn, once we agreed to do that and we caught the money there, then the commissioners pulled that funding. So it really helped us cover the shortfall that they stopped funding. So since that time, just so you know, we've passed our first levy, it started collecting in 2012. Immediately after that levy, Sheriff Dunlap, this is when I was on the board, approached us and said, listen, commissioners are cutting our funding. We're going to have to lay more deputies off. We would like you to pull from your general fund to help subsidize some of this cost. So at that time, Concord Township and Painesville Township, on top of the levy we were collecting, we wrote an additional check, I think, for about $55,000 each township to help save them from laying off another deputy. So we've increased then. We increased that extra funding, and then in 2014, we passed another levy to add on an additional officer and some part-time coverage as well to get some more on the road. So we've increased 3 times in that amount of 10 years with the amount of deputies we put on the road. Now, we're working with the commissioners because you bring up that grant. So that grant's for a 4-year period. So it comes down to, okay, if we agree to do 2, and they 2, that's 4 deputies. They're going to hire, the sheriff's office will hire some new deputies. But what happens in 4 years? That's close to, you're talking close to $600,000 additional to fund those deputies that Painesville Township would be on the hook for in 4 years.
But in the interim 4 years, we would be much safer.
But here's the problem. They won't agree to fund it for 4 years unless we agree to find a way to pay for it after that 4 years. So it's not, they'll just do it and then in 4 years they can go away. The only way they say they'll allocate that funding is if we say after the 4 years we'll absorb that cost. So we have to find out a way to take advantage of this money that they're offering to fund that in 4 years, because we have to present them with an idea of how we're going to fund that. So that's what we're currently in developing, is here's finding a way to get the most money we can from them to fund deputies, because quite frankly the sheriff's on record a number of times saying that he does not have enough deputies to respond to emergencies, which is the county commissioner's statutory duty. So we're paying for road patrol. They're supposed to pay for response to emergencies. So we have to come together and find a way to put more on the road and get them to fund more to respond to emergencies so that these guys have the support they need and can safely keep themselves safe and our township safe. And
Please
that's,
make it a priority.
well, we've had probably 6 meetings now to discuss which way to go. We've already made an offer to the commissioners, which they rejected. So now we're back to the drawing board for another offer. So know that it is a priority. We've met a number of times with the sheriff's office. We've made offers to the commissioner's office. That was rejected. So now we're currently developing a new idea that we have because of some of this COVID relief money that we got but we can use it to help fund an increase in police. So we're finding a way to try to get creative with that funding, with what the commissioners are offering, to hopefully get some help for the sheriff's office in our township to make it a safer community. So that's, trust us when we say we are working on it, and I think the sheriff will tell you and the deputies tell you it's something we've had multiple discussions on and we're working on hard.
I would like to see the citizens updated on this in your newsletter, whatever goes out, or even online.
Yeah, so actually, in the next newsletter, which is,
Actually,
it's
Should
coming
be
out
hitting any-
today, right?
yes,
It's
if,
going to the post office on Wednesday,
And-
so it should be hitting mailbox.
and if you happen to have signed up for our email notifications, the newsletter, I think, just went out today via email. I think I saw it in my inbox.
Did it?
Digital, but then it goes print.
We all take turns writing an article, and there's an article, I authored this one, it's my turn to write, but it's specifically on this subject. And it explains, the Ohio Revised Code, what it states, it explains case law, and then it explains current situation. And I think all of your questions will be answered. Please trust that it is a priority with us. The contract we had expired a few months back, and we've been going on it month by month, renewing it with the normal increase. So that's where we're at now. We want to add more, but I'd like to make a point, though. In the Ohio, so one of the points that the commissioners keep pounding the table.
Chuck, I don't mean to interrupt you, but your microphone's not working.
Test. I had it on.
There you go.
Off.
There you go. You're good.
Oh, that's working now.
All right. Well, we'll trade here.
Yeah. Also, the speakers at the podium need to either push the mics down or speak into them.
Okay.
Because you can't hear them either, for the record.
All right, thank you. All right, so one of the points that the commissioners have been making is that, or the sheriff made, which then is the sheriff's budget is established by the commissioners, right? So they give these gentlemen, this department, their full staffing amount, and they dictate what they can have based on staffing and dollars. So one of the points that we keep hearing, and the sheriff said on the July 5th press release he did, and then there was 2 more television interviews, the sheriff is saying he doesn't have enough deputies to respond to the calls, right? We don't doubt that at all. But the Ohio Revised Code clearly states that it's the sheriff's responsibility to respond to emergencies. So the fact that the sheriff is saying he doesn't have enough manpower to respond to emergencies, and no one's doubting that, that falls upon the county commissioners to properly fund their budget. So if the county commissioners aren't properly funding that budget, then they don't have enough manpower to respond to emergencies. So what they're having to do then is to draw off the road patrols. So when in 2008, when the commissioners eliminated road patrols, what they said, or they started the process of eliminating road patrols, and then as Gabe was explaining, they had to eliminate all these road patrols, and the townships then pick it up. So the county is responding to emergencies being supplemented with road patrols. That's not what the Ohio Revised Code states. The Ohio Revised Code states in 31107A that the county has to respond to emergencies. So if the county sheriff is statutorily required to respond to emergencies, it's incumbent upon the county commissioners to fund their budget properly so they can respond to emergencies. As it is now, they're not properly staffed. We all agree. The sheriff has come out and said he's not properly staffed. So in the bigger picture, who pays for what? It gets down to we're all government, right? I think we can all agree that they're not properly staffed to handle emergencies, and I believe they're also not properly staffed to do their job in the township with road patrols. So in the bigger picture, everybody needs to step up and to properly, rearrange these fundings. So what the county commissioners have offered on their temporary plan, where they'll match anything that we provide, until this funding from the federal government came into place, we had nothing available to draw additional funds from. If we were to draw additional funds from our policing levy, we would drain that levy literally within 2 years. Then what do? We have no money to provide anything. So, we can only provide what you, the residents, tell us that we can provide. So we bring in a set amount of dollars. Well, when that levy was passed in 2014, we initially budgeted it for it to last 10 years. So that would get us to 2024.
to keep the same manpower, the same staffing. The way this has worked out, though, and the way we've managed it, we're able to extend it out to 2027, 2028. So, you know, at some point, there's only so much money. We can only deal with what the voters tell us that they're willing to pay for.
And it's going to come to a point where, as we know, like Chuck said, it's a two-part thing. The sheriff has said it a number of times. He doesn't have enough to respond to emergencies. And these guys, we know that it's a large township, so having one car on the road that we're paying for to get two sides of the township isn't enough either, right?
Three sides.
So we know that, yeah, three sides essentially. So we are well aware that there needs to be more people on the road, but based on exactly what the sheriff said, there needs to be some on the back end to respond to emergencies. Our responsibility is the road, responding to emergency is the commissioner. So we need to find a way to come together so we can affordably for our neighbors or our residents to fund the road patrol while having the commissioners pay for response to emergencies.
Because we don't want to ask our taxpayers to pay for a service that the Ohio Revised Code says that the county commissioners should be providing.
And then the last wrench in the gears here is that Perry Township and Leroy Township don't pay anything. So when there's a call, an emergency in our township, the commissioners do fund some and we fund some. So if there's a call, our road patrol generally goes, and then a county-funded vehicle is there too, or Concord pulls as well. But when they have an emergency in Perry, let's say, they don't have a guy on the road to initially respond. So the response is coming from the commissioner funded, and officers from our townships that we pay for are also responding too, if there needs to be for an emergency. So we're hoping the commissioners will put a little pressure on Perry especially to fund something so that it helps balance the scales a little bit as well.
Please put some pressure on somebody, because I have stopped by a patrol car that was sitting, and I was talking with the gentleman, and as I looked in, his screen was loaded with calls. They couldn't get all the calls on the screen. Now, what if I needed something? What if somebody, you know, I mean, yeah, okay, they're going to get somebody and pull somebody, but then somebody else is waiting. These calls are legitimate. We need the coverage.
We agree.
We are growing exponentially, and we do not have the proper coverage. So please, I don't care whether you get on their backs. If you want me to, I will.
Call the
We
Lake
need
County
help.
commissioners.
I already have, and I
Okay.
will do it
Okay.
again.
All right.
I
Man,
know
just
two
one
of
more,
them.
if I can make one more number out there. I know I've thrown a lot of digits at you. I think that way. But if you look at the staffing of the sheriff's department to handle emergencies, and you look at the staffing to handle road patrols, so Painesville Township funds 6. Concord Township funds 7. That's a total of 13 deputies to handle road patrols. The county sheriff is only budgeted for 12 deputies to handle 4 townships for emergencies. Just 12. We have more deputies to handle road patrols between us and Concord than the sheriff's department has to handle all 4 townships. That's not fair to the sheriff's department. It's not fair to the townships. That's a statutory requirement that the county needs to fund. And what we keep hearing from the commissioners is, will the cities pay for this? Will the villages pay for this? Well, I understand that. But statutorily, they don't have to. If they were to close their police departments and let the sheriff's department become the law, the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer in the entire county. If, for example, who was it? Madison Village. So Commissioner Hamercheck has stated Madison Village pays $3.2 million per year for their police department. Therefore, Painesville Township should pay the same. Well, my response to that is Madison Village and Madison Township should close their police departments. They could contract out 20 patrol officers, pay $2.2 million, and then let the county take over. They could give them $2.5 million to give an extra detective, and that would give an extra $1 million back to their tax base. They would pay less in taxes, get better service if they were to use the services that are already provided by our outstanding sheriff's department. Save $1 million out there in Madison Village. I think when elected officials make terrible decisions in representing their community and then try to use those explanations to sell more taxpayer money elsewhere, it's a disservice. So again, statutorily required, the commissioners are required to fund the sheriff's department to answer 911 calls. We have more deputies answering road patrols than the sheriff has to answer a 911 call. If they answer a 911 call in Painesville Township, I think that's okay for road patrols to go help, but they're getting yanked all over the place because Perry doesn't have it, Leroy won't do it, and Concord and Painesville Township are funding this. So the commissioners have offered a plan. They'll match person for what we have. Federal funds have come available. We're exploring those options. Believe me, in serious talks, we're meeting with the commissioners or with the sheriff's department. We've done it multiple times. We're getting there, but it's a negotiation, and both sides need to agree. The side that, in my opinion, the side that needs to agree here is the commissioners need to understand what the Ohio Revised Code states in section 31107A. They are statutorily required to respond to 911 calls, not the townships. If they can accept that, then I think what you'll see is they will increase their department staffing. We're willing to increase too. Let's see what we can do. Come to an agreement.
But yeah, we're looking for a long-term solution.
Yeah, and in 4 years, I mean, if all they're going to do is match for 4 years, and then we have to come up with a way, we don't have that money.
And the last thing we want is the sheriff to, these guys, to bring on somebody, hire him, train him, get a qualified deputy onto the road, and then 4 years have to lay him off. Because I think in the article in 2012, don't quote me on the number, but I believe it said 48 deputies Sheriff Dunlap had to lay off in years leading up to 2012 because of the funding that was cut from the sheriff's office. So the last thing we want is to have that type of cuts happen again because the commissioners are only going to fund something for temporary. We're looking long-term. We're in this. We want to give our residents protection and help the sheriff's office get the support they need. But that involves the commissioner's office playing with us and participating in this process as well for the long term. Not a short term 4 years to say they did something. Saying you did something's great, but we actually need them to commit and do something long term to help solve the problem that exists in shortage of policing in the sheriff's department, to give them the support and the safety they need, and then that converts to safety for our townships. So
Very grateful you came, though, and you shared your thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll share them.
good.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, just to expand, and I agree with this woman on regards.
Can't hear the speaker.
I've been working on that. I've looked at Ohio Revised Code.
John, can you see if that microphone's on?
Yep. There you go.
Speak to the
Maybe
microphone.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Can you
Okay.
hear now, Mike?
Yeah, I've looked up.
Yeah, but he needs to
Ohio
speak close
Revised
to it,
Code,
otherwise
all
you
the
can't hear it for the
executive
record.
office. I've looked at the commissioners group, the CCAO.
Still can't hear.
I contacted them. I've got their books.
John, can you talk into the microphone, please?
Maybe lower my.
Yeah, there you go. You can take that down if
you
you
can
want
lower
to.
it.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
There you go,
Just
much
like
better.
the idea is, and I've talked with the sheriff, like he said, basically, the sheriff's department has to respond to certain types of calls.
Correct.
Okay? His recommendation is, right now, we have 6. He said minimum to be 12. He would like to see 24. Painesville, which has about the same population as us, has 44 police officers.
But to respond to emergencies and calls or road patrols?
The sheriff has certain obligations, and then there's other things like road patrols and everything, like speed. Like I've talked to him about speed, just like you talked about Millmore. The difference of it is, and I've talked to Tracy years ago because the speed limit was 25 on Millmore. You cannot have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit on a county road. She said, because I said, we still haven't changed that. And she says, well, it was going to be 30, but now the General Assembly's changed it to 35. So there's a lot involved, like Bill said, when whoever has that, just like the township's unincorporated area. They don't have any home rule unless they were to get limited home rule and get their own police department. And then they can do it with a contiguous township, like Painesville Township and Concord could go together and get a police force.
Well, we could still
But
even
the thing
even
about
at
it
home.
is, I'm just saying there's so many avenues, and when you look up all this, I saw some of the stuff that somebody else had responded, and the sheriff responded back. There's a lot involved in that, like that grant for 4 years. That's coming from the clerk of courts,
Right.
$1.5 million.
Correct.
That's where that's coming from.
It's not coming from
Faith
commissioners.
got that, and that's what that's for. But after 4 years, it's going to be gone. So the thing about it is, it's like, just in response, I agree. I know for a fact that, as we have, like they talked about it today on the commissioners, Lake County is one of the few counties that grew in population. And they went on to list why and so forth and so forth. And along with population, you usually get more problems because there's more people and for various reasons. And the thing about it is, it's like, I agree, these men and women do the job. It's like Captain Brooks was on the other day talking about the jail, and Mark Ialisa and so forth, and Paul Stepanko and Frank, the sheriff, all spoke about the jail. And you talk about SME, subject matter experts. How can I talk about anybody that has more of a subject matter on jails than those four? Because the sheriff used to be charge of the jail before he became sheriff, and now Captain Brooks takes as the jail. And then Mark and Paul basically do the maintenance on the stuff there in that building. And I do support, I just want to tell you, I do support building a new jail. I do. I think it's better well spent for the taxpayers. That jail's only 30 plus. You ever go to the jail up in Jefferson County, which they are replacing, the county commissioners are? And it's basically, when you look at it, it's basically the same structure, and they're going to replace it. They only got 30-some years out of it, in my opinion. I think there's a problem there.
Yeah,
as far
I
as
think we all agree
construction
there, yeah.
design. We won't
So-
even go there. I've looked at it, and it's just, but I'm just saying, when you have SMEs, I was a SME at one thing, I'm on computers at one time, but anyway, beside the point. When you're SMEs, we couldn't ask for four more better people to tell us what we need, and so forth. And like I said, as far as this, when you read the Ohio Revised Code and all these other things, like you also have it here, like for instance here, I didn't bring what I should have brought, knowing we're going to talk about this, but it says, Ohio law consists of Ohio Constitution, Ohio Revised Code, and the Ohio Administrative Code. The Constitution is the state's highest law, superseding all. Revised Code is a codified law. The Administrative Code is a compilation of administrative rules by state agencies and so forth. And since we don't have any home rule, we base is statutory about everybody else. Now, we could get limited home rule for certain things. But with all that being said, I'm just saying, I do believe, along with the other person that spoke, we do need more road patrol. No doubt.
And
Yeah.
we are working towards
I understand
this,
that.
but the thing is, we want to make sure we're not asking and burdening our taxpayers
Correct.
to provide a service that the county commissioners, per the Ohio Revised Code, should be funding.
And you raise a good point. That additional funding, the grant, is actually coming from the clerk of courts, not even the commissioners.
Correct.
So realistically, the commissioners have yet to offer an additional dollar to help solve this problem.
Yep.
The money, they pushed it off on Faith, which is, we're gracious of her finding that money and making it available.
Correct.
But that circles back to our point. They are yet to add a dollar to this issue. The money they are adding is coming from somebody else. So they're haven't even offered a dollar out of their own fund to help solve this problem. And that's part of the issue here is we're all trying to find a solution and trying to scrape money and find money, and they're yet to volunteer or offer up any money out of their actual budget.
Well,
So
just like, I don't know about you, but I do. I get a look at my tax bill. And the thing about it, here's a copy of where all my money goes in Painesville Township. And it's just a little clarification that talks about special things. Now, I know we pay for the lights and also for cutting the grass and stuff on vacant properties. Special assessments, I believe.
You don't
You know
know.
what else is
The
added?
property owners actually pay on vacant
But I'm just saying
properties.
what-
Property
I
owners pay for
I
it.
called the auditor's office, and she's going to give me all, I talked
So
to Barb.
so
and
special
she's gonna-
assessments are street lighting and stormwater,
Okay, storm-
typically.
Okay, I might have misspoke there.
So out of your dollar, every dollar you pay, I think if you do the math, don't quote me on the exact, but I think you're at like 15.4 cents per dollar actually comes to the township for road, fire, police,
Correct.
everything, right?
Correct.
It used to be when I first got elected, we were about 17 cents. But all of the other increases in levies from Lakeland and Metro Parks, et cetera, have diluted the amount that we get from our every taxpayer dollar. I think we're below 16 cents now of every dollar that comes to us. So every dollar everybody pays, when 16 cents comes to pay for all the things that we need to do here in the township, we're doing the best we can with that without making your end dollar increase as much as possible, because you've said it many times in here that you can't make it unaffordable for people, especially seniors on fixed income. So we're trying. There's a balance to do that, and anything that we deem necessary, we can't force it. We can bring it to our voters, present the case, and let our residents and voters, and we're residents too, so we have to decide if it's what we want when we go into that voting booth. And that's how decisions are made in townships. Is a lot of them are made in the voting booth by the residents and the voters. So
Well, what I was just going to say is that when you look at there and add up all the dollars, and I've said this before, in the county, like I said, my first county meeting was 2005. First township meeting was 2006, and I haven't missed many, and I've been through a lot of people sitting up there and a lot of commissioners up there and so forth and so forth. And I've talked over the years, we need to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. But when I look through the taxes, my taxes, you see how our biggest expenditure is schools. Well, do you happen to know where we rate in the world in math? One poll had us at 30 and 137. That's sad.
I agree.
We spend all that money. We spend more on our kids for school than any other country in the world in math. We talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and that's all we hear. If you pay,
But I think
That's
when I
a
go to
school board
DC
discussion. Then.
Yeah,
But it is. But
I'm just
important to
saying,
note about
but
our
the thing
school.
about it is, we wanted more deputies on the road.
Right.
Okay? And I think these men and women do a great job, but they can only be in one place at a time. That's where I was going. We have to be better stewards of our taxpayer dollars, because like I said, when I talked to Council on Aging with Joey over there, Tomasek, taxpayers only got so much money.
Right.
And back in the last census, 28.4% of the people in Lake County were 60 and over. They're on fixed incomes. And now Powell from the Federal Reserve Bank is saying hyperinflation the first half of next year. And if any of you run grocery shopping, you know what that's turned out to be.
Oh yeah.
But the thing about it is, we need the police, we need to pay for this. It's like I had a tour and meeting with the people at the crime lab when that levy went up. And when I went in there with it, and I met with the director and all the people that worked in there, and they showed us and they gave a tour of what they do and how they do it. And I said, yeah, we got to give the law enforcement the tools to do their job. But then one time I had a tour with Mr. Beveridge gave me and a couple other people a tour of Lakeland. And one of the things on there, well, you can write on these walls. The students can write on these walls. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Because someone's going to have to clean them off then, And I thought, all I'm asking is be better, because there are certain things, and I got your pamphlet here somewhere about the township, fire protection, police protection, roads, and so forth and so forth. Okay, that's what we have to concentrate. Yeah, it'd be nice to do this, this, and this, but,
So
all right,
yeah,
I got
I'll
that.
add that,
My last thing-
so we don't control the metro parks, the money they ask for. We don't control Lakeland, the libraries,
understand that.
all those other boards. So,
But the thing
whether or
about
not
it is I'm speaking for the taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
correct, and I'm just saying, so
more they
we
ask for-
oversee the township taxpayer dollars, and we're doing everything we can. And
Right.
like I explained, we want to make sure we're not asking our taxpayers to pay for something that the county commissioner should be providing because of all those points you offered up.
Yeah. And
That's okay.
do you know how many of those are continuous levies? I do. Look it up.
Most of them now.
Look at them. People, in my opinion, are foolish to pass a continuous levy because there's no oversight and accountability. Just goes on. I remember I went to one of the board meetings that has a continuous levy, and they said, "Oh, we got plenty of money, but yet we need deputies."
Well, I can tell you, our police levy is a continuous levy.
Because we know that
and
it's
we
nev-
don't we don't have enough, and
Right.
we don't have enough money. But we know that, when we planned in 2014 for the levy, we wanted to make it last 10 years. We knew we were never going to need less policing, but we knew that if we did a 10-year levy and we got to that point and it didn't get renewed, that we'd be in big trouble. So,
Okay.
so that's why we did the continuous.
I'm just saying we need to be better stewards of our taxpayer dollars at all levels. I've said that at the county. When I go down to Columbus, I say the same thing. And when I go to DC, I say the same thing. But only time I hear from them is in November. But I have a good memory.
Well, I'll say this with
I
confidence.
remember that stuff in November. Trust
I'll
me.
say this with confidence to make you feel better. I think you would be very hard pressed to find a community that runs on a small staff like we do in the township and provide the services that we provide. I think I can't think of a community out there gives a better bang for the taxpayer dollar than us. When you look at our road department, 7 or 8 guys, and our office staff, 3 people doing all the things that we do. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that uses your tax dollars better than we do. So,
Correct. And I think, it's like I've said before at the county meetings, I said that I believe the county employees do a good job. Just like if you know Randy Roethlisberger, he'll always say, I want the lowest, best bid. We don't want to shirk on quality because, like they say, pay me now or pay me later, like they're talking about the new jail. 30-some years out of the old jail, I think it was a waste of money. And then there was been a cost analysis on the new jail, spending $100 million versus the other ones.
Right.
So I won't get into all that. But my last thing here for the township is, I have a question. I think one of the deputies and Bill maybe, Section 4511 Ohio Revised Code, pedestrians walking in roadway. And in certain instances, they say if there's a shoulder or a
berm.
what's the other word they use on here?
Berm.
Could be berm. But as far as like, hey, I walk every day, and like when I go around, I go down. I used to go on 20, but they go too fast on 20, and they're right on top of you. Did you ever take a walk someday and watch where people's eyes are when they're driving? It isn't on what's going on. But anyhow, I was looking for, and actually it's a misdemeanor if a person walks and blah, 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 and there's a shoulder and all this stuff. It's a misdemeanor. And the thing about it is, do we have on Normandy and Coventry, the circle, and I know you know where that's at, is there a shoulder or a berm there, or is it just actually the road?
Some places there's a berm, some places it's just where people's yard goes all the way up.
Yeah. And
So,
Places there's a ditch.
So what is the question?
My
Is it
question
legal
is-
to walk on the side of the road?
Yeah, because if you go around there's people walk. I usually go about 7 o'clock. The thing about it is, I've almost been hit 3 times, and there's one little brown SUV, and I know what the woman looks like. She's almost hit me 3 times. I mean, this far from her mirror, and there's no cars coming, nothing. Most people are very, appreciative, and they will go around and they wave to me because I'm there almost every day, almost 7 days.
So what's the question?
The question of it is, I was looking for the definition, because I was going to call the state, and I probably still will, and get a definition, because I looked all over for what's the definition of the shoulder or a berm?
I guess what's the final question you're trying to get to or
On
answer?
Normandy and Coventry.
You're just asking if there is one on Normandy
Yes,
and Coventry.
that's what I'm asking.
Because you want to know if it's legal to walk there or
No,
Well,
does he
Ohio
have
Revised
to
Code's
walk there?
451150, or of course you have to walk on a sidewalk where there is a sidewalk, okay? Where a sidewalk is not available, a pedestrian walking along and upon a highway shall walk only on a shoulder as far as practical from the edge of the roadway. When neither a sidewalk nor a shoulder is available, any pedestrian walking along upon a highway shall walk as near as practical as the outside edge of the roadway. Or if on a two-way road, shall walk only on the left side of the roadways. Then they refer to 4511.13 and 4511.46.
Oh, their left side.
And so
yeah.
forth and so forth. But the thing about, that's what I was looking at, and the thing about, that's all I was looking for clarification there. And I will call the Attorney General's office, because, they tell you, they put the disclaimer out there. We cannot give you any legal advice, the
Right,
Attorney
right.
General's office. I've met with them a number of times, and I talked to Dave Yost a couple times one-on-one, so.
So I
That's
guess
what you learn
so if you find out that there is a berm or
I guess you're obligated by ORC to stay on that
Yeah,
berm.
if
If
they
not,
leave it
then
on,
you're
it said it
permitted
was
to
a
be on the road.
be on the edge of the road.
I was in Columbus when they did that. You have to give a bicycle. That was another thing. When you have to give a bicycle 3 feet, it's a law. And I listened to all the testimony on that, and because it was before the bill, I was there. This was in front of the committee. And, you know, I was just listening that, you know, the bicyclists wanted, you have to give them 3 feet. But I thought, on walking, you don't have to give anybody nothing. And the thing about it is, there is no sidewalk. So now my next step will be definition of berm/shoulder.
Well, it did say you could walk on the, if those aren't available, you walk on the
The
leftmost edge
the
of the road.
Yeah. the
So,
edge.
so you are permitted to walk out there.
Yeah. See, because back in the older communities, very few sidewalks.
Right. I guess I'm trying to, so you're just trying to, so you know you're allowed to walk along the edge of the road.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. But you're just curious if it's deemed a berm or not?
Shoulder or berm, they said, you know, and that's a definition I don't know. I don't know what the definition of shoulder or berm is. Just like Bill said, the grass comes up right to the road, and then in some places there's a ditch right there. So it's like if I'm walking along this, where there's a driveway, I'll walk over, you know. But you don't have that often, so. I was just looking for clarification.
Provide a little insight.
Yes, sir.
I would look at a shoulder being sort of marked lanes. So if there's a white edge line, you have to be, I guess, outside the roadway.
There you go.
On that shoulder, as close to the left edge as you could be.
Yeah, that's
If
your
there are no
assumption.
marked lanes, as long as you're as close to the left edge as practical, it's kind of the same with the bike. Bicyclist has to be as close to the right edge as practical. Doesn't really give a specific definition of that. But if there's marked lanes, you have to be, you know, outside the roadway on that shoulder between the grass and the marked lane, or if there is not, just as far as the left edge of the roadway.
So the defining, really the safe defining thing is if the edge of the road is marked with a white lane marker. If it's just runs to the grass, then you're good to be on the road.
Yeah, because
There
there
you go.
are no white lines on the.
There,
edge of the
yeah.
road.
So yeah, so I guess that's the answer.
That's
so
your
you're
answer,
so
yeah.
walk along the edge of the road and
Well, I just got to commit.
And you don't have to worry about getting arrested.
Yeah, well, I just got to worry about that one woman.
Right.
Three
And-
times, it isn't by accident. She's almost hit me. I mean, this much.
and she's not going to care what the law says of where you're allowed to be. So
Well, if I get hit,
I
I
guess
wanna-
Well, it's no secret that Normandy is. They know this. We all know Normandy is quite the speedway. So
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
they take those corners pretty
well,
quick.
I think
And
also.
Thank you, gentlemen, for doing
yeah.
the job you do. We do appreciate it. You know,
Thank
we
you.
do. But
Thank
like
you,
I said,
John.
They're tied a lot by the Ohio Revised Code. And like the sheriff pointed out, what the sheriff's department has to respond to. I mean, it may not be right away, like if something happens to Leroy. You know, I mean, if it was a shooting or something.
Yeah, right.
Of course they're gonna go out there, but, you know. But he actually laid all that out in regards to what they have to respond to. And then with the road patrol,
And we just want to make sure they have enough, the county commissioners pay for enough deputies to respond to those emergencies
I agree with you
that they're
100%.
required to.
I
So,
agree. Thank
all right,
you.
thanks, John. Any other new business from the floor? Hearing none, we will close the public participation portion. Move on to Lake County Sheriff's Office report. And if you want to provide a abbreviated report or yeah, go for it. Go ahead and run through the whole spiel.
Give it.
You're here. Go for it.
All right. Total amount of calls for the month of July was 1,594. Responded to 6 injury accidents, 13 property damage accidents. We made an arrest for 6 OVIs, 2 of them which were felony offenses, 4 disorderly conduct arrests. We had a male that we arrested for public indecency and disorderly conduct. We had the weapons under disability, legal possession of firearms. This was at our Lakeside Dine and Dance on Fairport Nursery Road. An update on that is 2 males are currently in jail. One were arrested, one has bonded out. The other participants in this event were forwarded to the county prosecutor for review for further charges. And 1 male that's in custody will be charged federally through the ATF. So that's where we stand with that right now. We had a male arrested for domestic violence and TPO, second male for domestic violence, aggravated menacing, another male for felony warrant for drug trafficking and DUS, another male for domestic violence, possession of methamphetamine and paraphernalia, adult female, possession of methamphetamine and paraphernalia, and another juvenile male for obstructing official business, resisting arrest. We responded to 64 alarms, 43 citations, 331 warnings for various traffic offenses, driving under suspension 20. We conducted 167 business checks, 68 crime prevention checks, responded to one abuse of a person call, animal complaints 35, one assault, one breaking and entering, 21 ATV complaints, one burglary, 48 civil complaints, 21 disabled vehicles, 34 disturbances, one death on arrival, 20 domestic violence we responded to, but not all of them resulted in arrest. 6 drug investigation complaints, 1 fight in progress, 13 harassment threat complaints, 11 hazard complaints, 22 juvenile complaints, 18 lost and found property, 11 mental health emergency admissions where we take somebody to the hospital for mental evaluation, 2 missing person complaints that have been resolved, 51 noise complaints, but keep in mind this is the 4th of July, is playing a factor in that. 3 opioid overdoses, 40 parking violations, 3 sex offenses, 3 shoplifting, 103 suspicious circumstances, vehicles and persons complaints, 18 theft complaints, 59 traffic complaints, 25 traffic details where deputies set up in specific areas that are high in demand for traffic complaints and try to combat that. 4 trespass complaints, 23 vehicle lockouts, 4 warrant arrests, 3 weapons complaints, and 28 welfare checks where typically they're elderly or small children that need to be checked on because people have concern for them. Just to make you feel a little bit better, we try not to leave Painesville Township at all with our car that's on duty. Very rare do we leave Painesville Township vacant. If we have to go to Perry or Leroy for an emergency, because we don't patrol in those 2 towns, but we do respond in an emergency, we use our roving car. And our supervisor will go as their backup. So we leave somebody in Painesville Township. If the supervisor is not available to go because he's already on a call somewhere, like Painesville Township, for instance, he will take those reins and take over the patrol in Painesville Township. So we don't leave the township without a car, just to make you feel a little bit better, okay? We will be at the Township Days, and
Thank you.
we've responded to a few block parties and met with the residents, so that was great. People,
yes.
good interaction. So,
Yeah, good.
thank
I got
you.
a question. Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. So a couple follow-ups. Bless you. I heard you make a comment about July 4th played a part. What were you referring to?
So firework complaints. So
Noise
the noise
control.
complaints, a lot of them, those can be generally fires. If depending how central labeled them, could be firework complaints. So that's why the number's so loud, probably for noise, because people will call in fireworks as being a lot of noise in the middle of the night. So that could have played a role in July's numbers of noise complaints being high because of the fireworks that were going on.
And then the next question, and this is just to educate me. So I was under the understanding, somebody told me at one point, so I thought it was, well, apparently it's not, but on domestic violence, I think you said there were 17 or whatever the number may have been, but not all resulted.
There's 20, but not every one of, some of them are labeled as domestic violence. Sometimes we go there and we determine that they were verbal or that there wasn't an assault that took place during that domestic. So it wouldn't be something where we would make a fresh arrest on. Some of them we send to the prosecutor to review, and they get downgraded kind of to a disturbance. So when there's an injury or there's a threat of violence or there's a threat of serious injury or a reckless injury that occurs during that domestic violence incident, we make a fresh arrest. But a lot of times we get there, we get called to a location because there is a disturbance between either a live-in boyfriend or girlfriend or a husband and wife or somebody is childbearing or cohabitating. And we get there and it's just a disturbance where it's a heated argument, but injury did not take place, or there was not a threat of serious physical harm in that nature, where we will resolve it and we'll try to get parties to separate or leave, and it doesn't necessarily mean an arrest. But so total for domestic calls that we went to was 20, but out of those 26 for the month of July resulted in arrests. 2 of them were felony because they're of prior domestic situations that have occurred, or domestic arrests and convictions have occurred in the past.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to department reports. Service Department?
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Fire Department? Zoning?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legal?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Administrator?
Just to remind everyone that we will be holding Family Fun Day at the Lake County History Center on Saturday, August 28th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a very fun, free event for families, so please come out and join us.
Thank you. We have our fiscal officer who's participating remotely.
I have nothing to report at this time, sir.
All right, thank you. Trustees, I need a motion to request a resolution to approve payment to Backdraft Opco LLC in the amount of $3,527.97 for emergency reporting in the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to request a resolution to approve payment to Melzer's Fuel Service in the amount of $3,040.97 for fuel for the service department and fire department.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to request a resolution to approve payment to HZW Environmental Consultants for $3,867.50 for professional services rendered at the closed landfill.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proposed text amendments to Section 6, known as zoning case 21-ZC-02, and to set a public hearing date of September 7th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to accept receipt of proposed text amendments to Section 31, known as zoning case 21-ZC-03, and to set a public hearing date of September 7th, 2021, immediately following zoning case 21-ZC-02.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustees, anything else?
No.
All right, ask for a motion to adjourn at 11:58.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.